For 8 years, Second Amendment freedom has endured, thanks to an Attorney General who defended our rights in America's courts, an ambassador who defended our rights at the United Nations, and a president who believes in our Second Amendment rights. Those days are over. The winds of political power have shifted from the friends of freedom to a perfect storm gathering on the horizon. The presidential candidates will soon be nominated as races get underway across the land, and the Second Amendment is up for grabs. But already entrenched in Congress is a who's who of gun control. Politicians whose contempt for guns and gun owners is so ingrained that they can't recall a day they didn't hate the NRA. The Senate Committee on Terrorism and Homeland Security is chaired by Dianne Feinstein, mastermind of the Clinton gun ban, who's not only voted against gun owners more than 50 times, she was also a gun control advisor to the United Nations. Ted Kennedy chairs several committees and has been the Senate's leading and loudest voice for firearm and ammunition bans for almost half a century. Chair of the Senate Committee on the Environment is Barbara Boxer, a 16-year Senate veteran with a nearly perfect anti-gun voting record. The Senate Democratic Campaign Committee is chaired by perhaps the most rabidly anti-gun politician in American history, Charles Schumer. And presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, a supporter of gun licensing and gun owner registration, has a Senate record revealing anti-gun votes at every opportunity. Equally ominous is leadership in the U.S. House. The Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, is a purebred San Francisco gun hater who's consistently voted against gun owners in the House for 20 years. The powerful House Judiciary Committee is chaired by John Conyers, a reliable anti-gun vote for 44 years. Everywhere you look, gun haters are in charge. The Senate Majority Whip, Chair of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee, Chair of the House Oversight Committee, Chair of the House Rules Committee, Chair of the Senate Committee on Small Business, Chair of the House Democratic Caucus, and Representative Carolyn McCarthy, Chair of the Healthy Families Subcommittee, who's introduced the most sweeping gun ban ever proposed in Congress. This federal anti-gun stranglehold chokes off freedom in state and city government too, because it emboldens bureaucrats to conduct their own anti-gun crusades. Like billionaire New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, gun control's new self-appointed messiah. With no authority but his own ego, Bloomberg has created a vigilante coalition of 300 big city mayors to bring New York-style gun control to your hometown. Like all anti-gun lawsuits, Bloomberg's goal isn't to stop crime, but to enrich trial lawyers and bankrupt firearm businesses, while hyper-violent gang activity spreads to every community in America. Meanwhile, other anti-gun billionaires like Andrew McKelvey and George Soros are pumping cash into political camps organized to make war on hunters, shooters, and all gun owners. Like animal rights extremists who are enjoying unprecedented wealth and social influence. They pass themselves off as mainstream, but they're hardcore extremist groups affiliated with eco-terrorists who plant bombs and set fires and poison hunting dogs to get their way. Anarchists so dangerous that even the FBI says they are America's #1 domestic terrorist threat. While American gun owners face enough threats at home, the threat from abroad continues. National media have kept most Americans unaware of the global gun ban unfolding under the auspices of the United Nations. After gun bans in England, Australia, Canada, and South Africa, the world's last English-speaking nations, only the United States stands in their way, which means only the NRA stands in their way. So as we gather, beware the coming storm and the destruction it can bring. As we count our friends and foes on the Supreme Court, as it rules on the future of our freedom, as billionaires buy the laws and lawmakers they want, as bureaucrats conduct personal crusades, as zealots indoctrinate our kids, as criminal gangs infest our neighborhoods, as the UN applies global pressure, and as anti-gun forces control the U.S. House and Senate, if an anti-gun president occupies the White House, then the perfect storm is upon us. its arrival would be hastened by a terrorist attack, an event that experts say is inevitable. Then the final disarmament of law-abiding Americans will take place beneath the shroud of anti-terrorism legislation. And most media will play eager accomplice in misleading Americans down the one-way path to surrender. The first flood of this perfect storm may soon crash upon our doorsteps. But we, the law-abiding, firearm-owning citizens of America, we will not evacuate, we will not surrender, and we will not be overwhelmed. In the face of these powerful forces, we are prepared to rise and to stand and to prevail. Led by this veteran of Second Amendment wars, this champion of your firearm freedom, ladies and gentlemen, the Executive Vice President of the National Rifle Association of America, Wayne LaPierre.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you and good morning. You know, that film you just saw really does sum it up. When you think about it, the Second Amendment really is facing a perfect storm. In fact, it's the worst I've seen, potentially, in 30 years. It's hard to believe it's been that long. I came to work at the NRA in 1978, and it's taken 3 decades to crystallize for me that behind every anti-gun law, candidate, editorial, or movie is a ruling class that can't stand you taking responsibility for your own safety. The ruling class wants you to believe that they'll protect you so that you're dependent on them. I've seen and I've heard them all. Time, Newsweek, 60 Minutes, Sarah Brady, Pete Shields, Dianne Feinstein, Peter Rodino, Howard Metzenbaum, Michael Moore, Rebecca Peters, Rosie O'Donnell, the UN, George Soros, those big media brand conglomerates. They're the ruling classes that all believe the same elite conceit that you, all of you in this room this morning, and your fellow brethren all over the country shouldn't protect ourselves, that the government should. But we know, and you know, there's a little problem with that. They don't give a damn about you. You know, when you get right down to it, they couldn't care less about your safety. That's the bald-faced truth. That's the one constant that runs across all the ruling classes, and it's killing the Second Amendment. Take the political ruling class that fights right to carry legislation. They say you can't take responsibility for your own safety because good people carrying guns turn into maniacs. They say guns make good people do bad things. And so the political ruling class never empowers you. They always fight it. But they always empower themselves to keep you powerless.